All right, we're going to dive into a topic today that is, well, it's complex. It's something people whisper about, and honestly, it's almost always misunderstood. We're going to break down the real psychology behind why some women step outside of a committed relationship, and we're basing this on what the research actually tells us. So let's just get right into it. The big question, why do women really cheat? Because, the common assumptions, the stereotypes you always hear, they usually miss the mark completely. We're here to look at what the data and the psychological studies are actually saying is going on beneath the surface. In this quote, this really frames our entire conversation. It treats infidelity not as some random out-of-the-blue choice, but as a symptom. Think of it like a warning light flashing on your car's dashboard. The light isn't the problem, right? It's just signaling that something deep inside the engine needs some serious attention. Okay, so first things first, let's just go ahead and challenge that common narrative. We have to move beyond those simplistic, frankly, often gendered stereotypes to really dig into the much more nuanced psychological and emotional drivers that researchers keep finding. And this right here gets to the absolute heart of the misunderstanding. The myth is that it's all about a simple desire for physical variety. But the reality? It's so much more complicated. It's very often let's call it a misguided attempt to solve a really deep-seated problem or to fill a massive emotional void that's opened up in the primary relationship. So that brings us to our first big category of reasons, which I'm calling the quiet disconnect. This is all about what happens when that core intimacy, that connection in a relationship, just starts to fade away, often silently and over a really long time. This one is consistently cited as the #1 driver for female infidelity. And notice that word, subtle. Emotional neglect isn't about big, loud fights or obvious dramatic problems. No, it's about the quiet absence of the stuff that actually holds a bond together. Really listening to each other, sharing a stupid joke, having conversations that go deeper than just who's picking up the groceries. This comparison just perfectly captures that internal feeling, doesn't it? On one side, you have what it feels like to be a true partner. You feel valued, you feel heard, you feel desired. And on the other side is this feeling that can just creep in over the years. You start feeling more like a roommate, or even just a utility, someone who manages the house and the kids, but isn't really seen as an intimate partner anymore. That shift is an incredibly powerful catalyst. All right, the second reason in this whole quiet disconnect category is sexual dissatisfaction. And listen, this isn't just about how often you're having sex. It's about feeling ignored, or like things are just way too predictable, or just plain understimulated. It's that feeling that your own desire, your own pleasure, just isn't a priority in the relationship anymore. And this is the crucial part to understand about the motivation here. For so many women in this situation, the affair is less about that specific person they're with or even the physical act itself. It's more of a desperate attempt to feel desired, to feel attractive, to feel sexually alive again, almost like they're trying to reclaim a part of their own identity that they feel is just dying off. Okay, so let's shift gears. We're moving to our second set of reasons now, and these are much more overt, much louder. This is the loud reaction, because these actions are usually born from a place of really intense pain or soul-crushing monotony, not that quiet, slow fade we were just talking about. Revenge cheating. It's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. But it is so important to see it as a form of communication, a really destructive one, but communication nonetheless. It's a direct, painful response to being betrayed. A very literal attempt to make the other person feel the exact same pain and to, level the playing field. And man, this creates an absolutely devastating cycle. It kicks off with that initial betrayal, which leads to this profound sense of powerlessness. So the cheating act becomes this equalizer, but the end result? The relationship just transforms into a battlefield, and trying to find a way to heal from that becomes almost impossible. The other loud reaction is simply escaping boredom. Look, long-term relationships can be an amazing source of security, but sometimes they can just flatline into a routine of bills and chores. An affair can offer this incredibly powerful, almost addictive hit of what experts call new relationship energy, or NRE. You know that feeling, that chemical rush you get at the very, very beginning of dating someone new. That's it. And this quote just adds this whole other fascinating layer. The boredom might not even be with the partner. It can be a boredom with the self, the version of you that exists inside that daily routine. The affair then becomes a way to sort of try on a new identity, to feel like a completely different person again. So we've talked about emotional neglect, sexual dissatisfaction, revenge, and boredom. On the surface, they all seem pretty different, right? But what if I told you they all build toward a single unifying idea? There's a single thread connecting all of them. And there it is. The one thread weaving through every single one of these reasons is a deep foundation of unmet needs. It doesn't matter if it's the need to be heard, the need to be desired, the need to feel powerful, or the need to just feel excited. The affair becomes a strategy, however flawed, to get a fundamental need met that is being starved within the relationship. The source material uses this really powerful metaphor for it, a starvation state. And what this makes clear is that a woman might still deeply, truly love her partner, but she feels like she can't psychologically survive on the emotional diet she's being given. The affair then becomes this desperate search for nourishment. Which brings us to a really crucial point. What do we do with this information? Well, it's about seeing it as a tool, not as an excuse. So let's talk about the path forward. We have to be crystal clear here. Understanding is not the same as condoning. This analysis isn't meant to justify infidelity in any way. The pain it causes is real. It's profound, and this doesn't change that. Instead, the real value of this knowledge is that it gives us a kind of roadmap. It helps couples, all of us really, to identify the leaks, the small cracks in emotional connection, in intimacy, or excitement, to spot them long before they turn into a catastrophic flood. It's a tool for prevention. And that leaves us with one last question to really think about. By understanding these deep-seated needs for connection, desire, and validation, what are the small, everyday leaks that can be found and patched up in a relationship before they ever lead to a crisis? That right there is the power of this understanding.